would last but not least like to learn more from the Youth in African Agriculture Consortium. Empowering farmers and especially youth is essential for the availability and affordability of nutritious foods. And I would like to invite Ploy Thirapong Hiobon. I'm very sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. Please do correct me. Who works at Scholars of Sustenance, a food rescue nonprofit that uses good quality surplus ingredients from food business to distribute and cook for low-income communities in need. She will talk to Rahmat Ifunjowo, the co-CEO from Nourishing Africa, to discuss this idea further. Over to you, Ploy.
Thank you so much, Sophie. And thank you everyone so much for having me today. And hello, Ramat. Nice to meet you and nice to see you here. So I am Ploy from Bangkok, Thailand, and I'm the youth representative here. And as we all know that in this world, our food system is not really sustainable. We have used a lot of resources to produce so much food each year, and we still know that part of that produced food also being thrown away at the end of the day. And we also learned that by the end of 2020, we still need to feed a lot more people because the population will raising so fast by that year, right? And that is the time that me and also a lot of my friends and everyone in the world started thinking about how we can produce food to be enough to feed more people in that decade and that year. So I have learned so much about Rama works about nourishing Africa, and then I was so inspiring and fascinated by her work. And today I would like to know more about a coalition for youth in African agriculture solution that Rama has proposed to the UN Food System Summit. So Rama, can I please ask about why do you think this solution is a game changer for the food system?
Thank you so much, Ploy. Hi, everyone. It's really a delightful pleasure and honor to be here. And going straight to your question, Ploy. So what I would first like to say is that it is always exciting for me to hear about youth, food, and future in the same sentences. And Ismail, I heard Ismail speak about a lot about how youth need to be represented in discussions around agriculture and food, how they are innovating in the food systems. And I will say that youth is the future of food. I believe that there should be no doubt about that at this point, really, because youth are at the forefront of innovation. They are climate change actors. They are really leveraging technology and innovation to transform the food systems. We can go on and on and on. But then when we come to youth representation, identification of youth activities, engagement of youth in the agriculture and food sector, one thing that has become quite clear and why we need this game-changing idea to be out there, launched as soon as possible, is that we have realized that for every initiative, for every intervention, for every youth activity out there, they are really micro, they are mostly operating in the informal sector, and there's a lot of fragmentation in the space. And really, to push all of these interventions out there, to be able to achieve impact at scale, and to be able to break the silos and remove the fragmentation in the landscape, it is really important to coordinate youth action. Because, for example, I know that for many conferences, for many of these kind of summits, we're seeing that the same set of youth year in, year out are invited to speak at these kinds of events because of what they're doing, which is all great. But I would like to say that there are so many other youth actors out there operating in different niches across various localities and rural areas that also needs to step out and become even more recognized. And that is why we are proposing this African Youth Coalition in Agriculture, where through the power of the networks and association and youth bodies, we are able to amalgamate and coordinate the various youth interventions and actions in the landscape to be able to bring everybody together, and for stakeholders to be also able to identify and work with these various youth actors I'll leave it there for now. I know you have more questions for me, Floyd.
Yes, that is it's so interesting to hear about that because I also experienced myself when I start to do something about new project. Maybe it can be social innovation or environmental solving problem. It's more like we are the youth group that we work alone and we work separately and not never linked together to make it bigger and make a move in the high level. So would like to ask more about like because different young people in in the region might have different interests. How do you select them to work together and make sure that they will not have conflict of interest to work together for a long term and have sustainable solution?
Thank you so much, Floyd. I would like to say that first, I think at this point, it is really important to push the agenda for co-creation, shared geniuses, shared successes. And I would really like to say now is not even the time to think about competition. There is so much transformation to be had in the agriculture sector. I mean, there are so many problems we all want to tackle, and there are so many opportunities to tackle this from various local, regional, and other perspectives. So I would like to say that first, there are even, we do not have enough of such initiatives. As many as there are, actually, there is quite a lot to be done to transform the agriculture and food system. Africa alone will double in size by 2030. That is a lot of mouths to be fed. And we need all hands on deck. We need all youth to come on board to solve the food and nutritional challenges. Climate change is out there, and there is so much everybody can do. So I would like to say that co-creation, co co-playing in the space is really the agenda to be pushed forward right now, and everybody can actually be a winner in this coalition because there will be, we anticipate a level playing ground where youth from the rural, from the youth in the professional sector, agri-food SMEs can actually come together to leverage the power of networks to advance their various agenda with various stakeholders.
Thank you so much. So what I understanding is more like your solution will trying to empower all the young people who is in the food sector to come together and think really co-create the solution and not thinking about the competition because we will all have to need to have the same mission to make it um, possible for the future. So for the next one, because you're saying that because the youth if they work alone they might be struggle with finding the funding or access to all those resources that might be essential for their development or the project that they are doing. So how do you feel like how to attract the investor or the private sector or government to really jump in and empower the youth who are working on transforming food system as well?
Thank you so much for that question. I've seen from working with SMEs, especially in the landscape, is that the problem isn't a lack of funding, really, because there are so many stakeholder initiatives out there. There is a lot of interest in youth groups at the moment. So while we have seen one aspect being a lot of lack of investment readiness on the part of the youth, we have also seen on the part of the funders the inability to actually find these youth to engage, to be able to coordinate with them to understand what sort of funding is needed and to understand where they are and the mechanism with which they can deploy many of this funding and support system to them. So one thing I would like to say is that with the coalition, it is absolutely possible to be able to find and engage youth on several levels. There are so many initiatives out there. We have the FAO's 1 million initiative that targets to engage 1 million youth. And I can list a lot of all others. So we already have these initiatives looking to advance an ecosystem of support, including funding to youth already. But the question is, where will you find them? How will you understand their pain points? How would you understand what they're working on? And that's what this coalition aims to solve through amalgamation, coming together, and continuously identifying various use actions, various use interventions. That's when we're able to, leverage all of the support systems that are already out there, I must say.
Thank you. That's wonderful because I feel like this is the hardest one that young people all over the world who trying to change this world are facing at the moment because they are lacking of the opportunity to really reach those kind of very big level private and government sector to help them. And the last question, because I'm actually the one who is doing social impact project, and sometimes I'm facing with the how to say like we all want someone to really empower and support us all the time. Will that solution really help to support young people to continue doing what they believe as well?
Lloyd, can you please repeat the question for me?
Pardon? Yes.
Yes, I was asking if you could take the question again. I lost you
Oh
very
yes.
briefly.
Yeah. Because a lot of young people, when they start doing something to change the world or even changing something, and sometimes when they work for um for a bit, and then they start thinking about do they work it on the right track, and they might start thinking about they may need some support from the expert and some support from the mentor as well. How do you think that you can support them in that way?
All right. So when it comes to supporting youth along their journeys, I believe that every stakeholder has a part to play, from the investors to the government to the private sector. It is really important to be able to work directly with youth and make sure that they are at the decision-making table. And I'll give an example of what Nourishing Africa is doing, working directly with SME categories in the youth space. And we provide to them, an ecosystem of support from access to funding, data, markets, and even peer-to-peer network with each other. And I would like to make a final comment by imploring all stakeholders, to create opportunities for youth to thrive within their networks, within their interventions. It is important to include youth in the design stage, the planning stage, the implementation stage, at all stages, such that youth is represented at all stages, and they can tailor many of these interventions to the requests and needs of the youth. In that way, youth can be supported all through and at every level of interventions in the food and agriculture space. Thank you so much, Claude.
Thank you
Wow,
so much.
wonderful. Thank you, Ploy. Thank you, Ramat. This was fantastic. I just love the idea of partnerships, collaborations, capacity support, championing young people. So thank you for your good work. A lot of questions have been coming in. I want to thank the audience for engaging and for your support. We're going to take a few of our questions. A question came in for France. How can we invest in more actions on the ground with local communities? Franz, can you please respond to that question?
Yes, I think there's a great opportunity for some level of localization in the agri-food system because if you look at the sometimes the problem of access to food, it's sometimes a matter of access to resources mostly at the community level. And if you can leverage the skills, the knowledge, and provide youth, particularly uh, from local smallholder farmers, youth that are very uh, uh, engaged in the agriculture and the broader agri-food system, you have a better chance of helping where it's really needed. Uh, in general, the agri-food system at the local level, it's quite difficult because people don't have the tools, they don't have the skill set, and if you can bring that level of accompaniment, technical accompaniment, if you can provide the resources, the financing that are critical for local communities to get youth to build the skills that are important. We talk about sustainable agriculture, and there's very limited knowledge sometimes in the rural areas where youth can really build on those skills. And whether it's to extension services, whether it's to some innovative academy or agricultural skills development program, it can really build the skills that will help youth to see agriculture as a viable pathway. Because we know there's that problem about how appealing is agriculture now for youth when you're looking at the different constraints that they are facing to become active participants. So if there's that broader partnership, and we talk about coalition building to really help at the local level, to really support the development of the sector at the local level, whether it's just on farm, but also off farm activities and opportunities that give them a better range of opportunities and help them innovate as well. Because if you look at the food system, the agri-food system in the broader sense, there's a lot of component, there's a lot of pockets of opportunities that won't be available to youth unless they have the proper skills to really integrate them and participate. And also, if you're looking at all the problems in the, if you clearly look at the waste that's going on due to lack of logistical means. You look at storage problems, you look at transportation problems. There's a wide range of issues that if you have the right investment, the programs to get you on board, you will likely improve the way the agri-food system function and become more inclusive by engaging youth, by bringing them on board to bring ideas, to bring solutions, but also to bring decent work that will improve the living conditions, but also help them to be part of the agri-food system as economic participants, but also as innovators. That's where we see the needs to champion youth, to need to champion young women, young men, and get them the skills to really do things differently where they see fit, and get them the opportunity to build the skills to help fix some of the problem in the local food systems. And also, sometimes also it's important that new ways of doing things are being brought from the ground, because there's a lot of local knowledge that are already existing, but they're not sharing enough across the board. There's not that generational transfer of knowledge sometimes that is critical to make sure that the younger generation, they are getting a stronger system, and they're bringing new ideas and do things differently to strengthen their participation.
Thank you so much, Franz. I mean, you are singing from our playbook. We have to engage local organizations, their voices count. We have to amplify the voices of youth. We have to share knowledge, especially indigenous knowledge. This is critical. Thank you to all our speakers. You have been fantastic. Unfortunately, we don't have time to take all your questions, but please engage with all our speakers one-on-one. And reach out to them, because ultimately we want partnerships, we want action, we want engagement, we want collaboration coming out of this. So please join me in giving a virtual round of applause to our fantastic speakers and panelists today. I'm going to hand over to my